This right here is the Vivo X200 Pro. And on the rear of the really large camera housing, you get a 50 megapixel wide, 50 megapixel ultra wide, and then the highlight, a 200 megapixel periscope lens. And I'm not gonna lie, the cameras are incredible. And that's a teaser of just how powerful those triple cameras are on the back of the X200 Pro from Vivo. But we'll get to a full breakdown of what we think of those cameras later in this review. Right now though, let's talk design. And well, as you could probably gather, it is dominated by that rather large camera housing on the back, which is powered by a Zeiss lens. Other things than that though, that I would say that are really nice. Build quality is excellent. It feels super sturdy, very premium, very well built. Also, the screen is technically flat. However, on those four corners of the screen, they're actually curved round, but technically the display is flat. It's a very unique design. It does offer quite an immersive experience, especially if you're watching content, of which we have watched quite a lot. If you've caught a lot of this phone as well, it is very, very impressive. Brightness wise, brilliant. 6.7 inch, 120 Hertz panel as you expect, thousands of nits of brightness at its peak if you wanted to use it outside. And then you've got USB-C charging at the bottom, which a peak output is of 80 watts. And speaking of peak outputs, you do get a charger in the box, but if you are someone who has, let's just say, more than a few devices in the house and you want to charge multiple at the same times, have we got a sponsor bit segment for you? Let's talk about that quickly. 2 seconds. So we have a 100 watt gallium nitride prime Anker charger here with 3 ports, and then you can get 3-foot or 6-foot USB-C cables. Essentially, the benefit you have here is if you wanted to power your Vivo X200 Pro, which will output 80 watts, which this supports because it peaks at 100 watts, then you can also charge your earbuds or your watch at the exact same time. Now let's talk build quality, and let's first look at the plug itself. Essentially, you get here a premium build and design. Triple pins, but it'll obviously fold flat as well to make it more portable to carry in your bag. And on the other side, you've got a really nice gloss finish, and you've got USB-A, USB-C, USB-C power delivery. So this is actually sick. It feels amazing. Very nice to touch, very, very, very well built. And you know this ain't no joke when it comes to Anker. They have spent the money and the research and the time in giving you the best possible design spec when it comes to the Anker wall charger. Now let's look at something else. Let's quickly whack open one of these boxes. Let's open this one here, which is this is the 3-foot braided USB-C to USB-C cable. Now, braided, you know what that means? It means quality. It's not going to snag, it's not going to deteriorate, and it's not going to get damaged very, very quickly. And it's also going to be very robust. Also, you'll probably see the connectors on the side here, nice rubberized as well, which means they'll be sturdier to being pulled in and out of plugs. One thing I wanted to highlight on here though is the plug and the charger will actually support 240 watts of power delivery and has been tested for up to 300,000 bends as well. So you know this ain't no joke when it comes to Anker. They are the best when it comes to accessories relating especially to power. So if you're interested, which I'm sure you are, and you're looking for some like a cheap gift or a top-up gift or a stocking filler for Christmas, these could well be the right ones for you. Check out our link in descriptions, and thank you to Anker for sponsoring this bit of the review. So we've already talked briefly about the cameras on the rear of the Vivo X200 Pro. Yes, they are 50 megapixel wide, 50 megapixel ultra wide, and a 200 megapixel telephoto periscope lens. But In theory, that all sounds great. It'll even output at 8K 30 FPS and 4K 120 FPS. So this has got all the singing and dancing spec you could ever think of. And last year, the X100 Pro pretty much blew away everyone, including the X100 Ultra, when it came to its camera performance. So we actually imported this in from China via AliExpress, shop via the link in description. And I've got to say, it is very, very, very impressive. And those cameras are the highlights. And let's talk about those cameras. Let's first start off with, in reverse, the night mode. So nighttime photography on the Vivo X200 Pro is incredible. It's probably the best way to describe it. So this is a variety of different situations. This is first thing early in the morning before sunrise, and you're getting a look at just how capable that the phone is. And this is simply just no changes out of the box, no refinements, no editing. Only thing we've changed is the beauty mode is off. And other than that, it's just shot, 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 shot. That's it. It's just photo after photo after photo, and the output is amazing. I would go as far as to say even the video at 4K 60, which you're seeing here as well, of a local bar in Penarth in South Wales, again, looks amazing. The detail, the vibrancy is all incredible. And it just shows you the power of the Vivo X200 Pro's rear cameras. They are flagship and beyond to some extent. They do go far and beyond what we've probably ever tested in terms of its ability to deliver really great color and really good performance. In terms of photos, in general, again, very, very impressive. Color science, etc., all that is great. So what you're getting here is a slightly like a hybrid between an iPhone and a Samsung, I would say. And it does take a little bit of adjusting to get used to, because sometimes you look and you think, that color profile doesn't look quite right. It's just the color science behind the camera and the tech that they're using and the AI they're using. It does make it an incredible situation whereby your photos will look amazing. And there are some post refinements as well. So the photo you see on your viewfinder when you take it does get refined via AI a little bit in post as well, which again is not a bad thing, but that is the industry trend, to be perfectly honest. And overall, the camera performance across portrait mode, across night mode, across general photography and video, again, as a whole in both scenarios, is very, very impressive. Yes, there's a cat down there, but let's move on. Overall though, I would say the camera system alone is a justification for buying the Vivo X200 Pro. The only weak point I would say of its camera system is its front-facing camera, which, although can record at 4K 60, I just find the details are a little bit unrefined in comparison to its main camera lenses on the back. I'm not one for taking a lot of selfies or front-facing videos. We do a lot of that just to demonstrate to the customers and to our viewers what the quality of that front-facing camera is. But overall, the camera system is top-notch, one of the best we've ever tested, and that's across photo and video. The only thing we haven't discussed so far in this review is probably one of the main highlights and one of the things that drew one of the most attentions when this phone's chip was announced, which is the Dimensity 9400 by MediaTek. This, in fact, in terms of CPU and GPU, may even be more powerful than the newest Snapdragon Elite chip, which is insane because that tends to always be sort of the benchmark when it comes to Android devices. Anyway, 12 gig of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage is what we have here with our 9400 processor. And I've got to say, the experience is insane. We haven't even turned off like animations or anything like that like we do on our personal phone because we want to feel as fast as possible. But overall, the phone, in terms of things like, let's look at OS. We'll kick off with OS first. OS-wise, there's a ton of options. And I will say Origin OS is really, really impressive in terms of just how many options you get to pick to customize. There's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of customization options, which is amazing. And it's actually great to see so much variety on an OS that unfortunately isn't available here in the UK or in Europe as a whole, but is tons of variety and a lot of features here I think that other brands such as Samsung and even Apple could use in their OSs. Moving on to other bits, let's look at video performance in terms of display. So you get essentially a 120 Hz 6.7 inch AMOLED display, and then the quality of the video is mwah, chef's kiss. You do get very thin borders as well, so the real estate in terms of watching content on here is again very, very good and very immersive. And we have in our video, in all of our content that we've reviewed on this and watched, we have used the video enhancement feature because it does give you the deeper blacks and then the richer colors as well. And then moving on to that, the last bit, gaming. Now, gaming, it will automatically detect when you go into a game, and this is a benefit of the 9400 and its GPU power alongside Origin OS. It will recognize that and it'll put you into the most optimized state, which is balance mode. But if you wanted to, you can do it into eco mode essentially, or you can go into boost mode, which means you can get the absolute premium, but that does take more battery life. However, gaming as a whole in Call of Duty was an absolute breeze. Probably the best mobile experience we've ever had when it comes to gaming on a mobile phone. Absolutely flawless. And then the haptic feedback when you're shooting, when you're using the phone and everything is, again, incredible. I told you there was a cat, and there he is. Bless his heart. To wrap things up, what are our final thoughts on the Vivo X200 Pro? Well, I will say there's one big thing that we haven't really discussed, which we'll get to in a second. But overall, in terms of, let's look at performance, OS and cameras, I honestly can tell you that I very rarely can find a flaw or an issue where it's running slow, or there's any issues with the OS in terms of optimization, etc. I think the biggest issue you have here is, again, this is an import, so it is running a Chinese ROM, not the European ones, but we've sideloaded a lot of the Google services on there. They do run perfectly. I will say that absolutely perfectly. Would I use my internet banking or anything like that on it? Probably not, because it hasn't got the right certificates for security. But for everything else, in terms of photo and video, untouched. It's the best performance we've ever had in terms of the performance of the CPU and the GPU on the 9400 by Dimensity, the processor. Again, it is pretty incredible. Using the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 phone we currently use, this is a significant jump when it comes to that. The biggest problem in everything as positive as we have been, including things like charging and water resistance, IP69 we haven't touched on now. We haven't touched on 50 watts of wireless charging, 80 watts of wired charging, a huge, nearly over 5,000 milliamp hour battery. The biggest problem we have is you actually can't buy this phone. You actually physically can't buy this phone in UK or in Europe as a whole, or in the States, or anywhere other than China, which is a massive, massive shame, because although it may not be the greatest seller in the world, even if it was available, it sure would put competition on its toes, like Apple, Samsung, for example. It's a shame. It is a big, big shame. So this cost us just shy of £700 in the UK to import. That is £600 less than something like an S23 Ultra or the equivalent iPhone 16 Pro Max, which is a huge variance. But overall, our final feelings is it's a shame you can't buy this, but the Vivo X200 Pro is an absolute brilliant phone. In fact, it's the best Pro phone you can't buy right now.